What's good, people? It's your brother YK The Truth. And we're going to listen to Thomas Sowell speak about reparations and why he feels that reparations is a waste of time. Let's listen to him.
Slavery has been a universal institution for thousands of years, as far back as you can trace human history.
Right. So we know that slavery has been around for thousands and thousands of years, right? But what is reparations? Reparations is righting a wrong. Let's go to the American Bar Association. Let's see what reparations is. Reparations, according to the Shorter Oxford Dictionary, means the action of making amends for wrongdoing, amends, compensation. In international law, it means that when a country has committed an international crime, such as the invasion of another country or the genocide of a people, it must make amends to the victims, including the descendants of the original victims who still suffer from the consequences of the crime. Of the crime. So I don't care about if everybody participated in slavery. We know that it's wrong. So reparations means you have to right a wrong. Now, if those other places feel like they have a case, by all means, go for it. But America left a huge paper trail that I don't think those other people left who also participated in slavery. Let's keep going. See, you love to get caught on the word slavery. We all know that slavery is wrong. No matter if it was 100 years ago or 1,000 years ago, it was still wrong. And you're trying to justify it because other people did it. It doesn't make it right. It's not a moral thing. Now, here's the thing that American slavery has over all of those other slaveries is that we have a paper trail. We know who was behind it. You can't just say a European race. You start saying things like the Royal African Society. You start bringing up all of the banks that prospered through slavery. You start looking at counties and states who benefited off of slavery. Let's play the video.
And what we're looking at is if slavery is something that happened to one race of people.
Nobody never said it happened to one race of people. We saying it happened to our people. And it happened not too long ago. So we want our check. We want our reparations for the forced labor without pay. We want our reparations for having our identity stolen from us, our language stolen from us, our customs stolen from us. This is what we want. We want what is owed and what we can prove. And based on numerous records. So let's play the video back.
One race of people in one country, when in fact the spread of it was around the world.
So that doesn't make it right. It doesn't. If that's the case, why don't we just do slavery now? I mean, they did it for thousands of years then. This is your logic. Well, they did it for thousands of years. So is it okay for us to go get slaves now? Because people has always done it? No, it doesn't. You're trying to justify slavery. When we go to these newspapers from the 1800s, these documents, we can see what the United States made off of slave labor. There is a paper trail. This is what you fail to realize. There is a paper trail.
1776, which is when Adam Smith published The Wealth of Nations, as well as when the United States got started. He said that Western Europe is the only place in the world where there is no slavery. And even the Western Europeans had vast numbers of slaves in the Western Hemisphere, but not in Western Europe.
So for all of you people who say things like, well, Africans sold other Africans, Europeans sold Europeans too. Europeans sold other Europeans too, because that's the main thing you guys want to justify whenever we bring up slavery. You say, well, what about the Africans? Where we're going there too. But right now, we live in America. America is what put us through these harsh conditions. We want our check. That's it.
Europe itself. And so if you're going to have reparations for slavery, it's going to be the greatest transfer of wealth back and forth.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Because if you Europeans, I don't think Europeans are going to be able to go back to North Africa and pull up all of those records. I don't think they're going to be able to name banks like Chase and all of these other banks who benefited from slavery. I don't think they're going to be able to name names the way black people can name names. There's a paper trail. Slavery didn't happen long ago. It wasn't that long ago. You're talking about 153 years. We got the proof.
Because the number of whites, for example, who were enslaved in North Africa by the Barbary pirates.
Now, I want a European to go find me some records of how much them Africans made from them. I want you to give us an estimate. Can you do it? No, you can't. We can specifically trace a group of people to slavery who benefited from slavery, companies that are still here today. We know the laws that was put in place during slavery, the slave codes that was written by this government. You guys left a paper trail. You was messy with your slavery, and now you owe.
Exceeded the number of Africans enslaved in the United States and in the American colonies before that put together. But nobody is going to North Africa to ask for reparations. Because
you know why? Because it's not going to happen because you don't have a paper trail. You guys do not have a paper trail. And you know what else? You guys do not live in North Africa. We live in America. And we have been victimized in America. We have been here in America. So this guy is trying to justify slavery. It was a failed attempt to justify slavery and to say why we shouldn't get reparations for what our ancestors endured. If I can look at records where my ancestors are on wills and they're being passed down to their kids, and then their kids is passing my ancestors down in their wills, that wealth is being passed down. So don't tell me nothing about it had nothing to do with you when your ancestors were benefiting from my ancestors from generations for generations, creating generational wealth. Don't tell me that I had nothing to do with it. You ever heard of a will? If a person it does work and they're not getting paid for it, you have to pay. Do not try to sit here and justify slavery talking about, well, Africans sold other Africans. These are excuses. Because if nobody needed Africans, nobody would have been selling them. And then that doesn't excuse the other things you did after you brought the Africans and you purchased the Africans, when you branded them. Then you had them go over on a ship for weeks at the bottom of a vessel where millions were murdered, and you raped the entire continent of people, and you took their language away from them, their cultures, their customs. But you know what? You know what these silly Europeans will do? They'll come on my channel and be like, you're looking for a handout. But it was okay for your ancestors to have a handout. Let's hear them beg for black labor, for slave labor, right? Now, this is in the Yorksville, South Carolina Times, 1857. They want to bring back the slave trade, right? Let's hear them beg, right? Europe clamors for more cotton than the world at present supplies. France has already contracted for 10,000 African slaves called the apprentices to be employed in the West Indies, while the South, with 1 million of square miles of territory, embraces cotton lands enough to supply the world, cultivates but 5 million of acres in cotton. Only 1 acre is 128 of her soil. And this is the best that can be done till Africa shall pour in upon us more of her population to reclaim our fertile lands. Let's look at them beg. There's a paper trail. The high price and scarcity of cotton has stopped thousands of looms, and manufacturers are confining their operations to finer fabrics. The want of labor has made sugar so dear as to be almost a mere article of luxury. And population, all the world is over. All the world over is pursuing its natural law of outrunning production. Now, watch this, white people who's going to be lurking on my video, right? In the comment section. Listen to this, white people. Nature has ordained that our best lands can only be cultivated under our burning sun. Ooh, y'all don't like that burning sun, huh? But you coming on here asking me, telling me that I want a handout when your ancestors needed a handout, literally? Burning sun by African muscle. And we see that with the requisite labor, our vast territory may sustain and comfort a population larger than that of China. So they want to come in Africa. They want to come to Africa and get the Africans. And then they want to justify the reasons, just like you're doing, just like Thomas Sowell is doing. He wanted to justify slavery. And what was his justifications? Right? I will show in few words that the servitude of the African is in accordance with the will of Almighty God, and he who does the will of God can do no wrong. Slavery existed in the primeval world before civilized society originated.
Slavery has been a universal institution for thousands of years, as far back as you can trace human history.
Don't that sound like Thomas Sowell making excuses for slavery? Slavery existed in a primeval world. So therefore, it's ordained by God. Shut up. In this whole entire article, they tried to justify slavery by saying that black people were cursed by the Bible. Then go on to say how much God loved us so much that we were able to overcome diseases and all of that. So if we were so cursed, right? Like this article made it seem, let's see what it says about Africa. The land is beautiful and fertile, but cursed with the climate and with diseases which the Negro can endure. So that means we were able to live in Africa with those diseases, but which will forever prevent the white race from possessing and cultivating the soil. If providence, what does providence means? It means with the help of God, a blessing. If providence, with the benignant hand, had not bestowed the blessings of food and adaptation to the climate on the Negro in that country, he would long since have perished. But it seems as if Western Africa had been destined to be the cradle of that hardy muscle for which is indispensable for developing those lands. So if we were so cursed, why did God bless us? But let me get back to the video. See, Thomas wanted to justify slavery by saying that it happened all over the world for thousands of years. But we have a paper trail. Let's keep going. It was okay for them to have a handout. But now you want to come to my channel and tell me that I'm looking for a handout. But guess what? I will not be going back and forth with you because I don't expect you to understand, being you are a descendant of those people who caused those atrocities. I will never sit here and waste my time going back and forth with you. This is for my people to get why we need reparations. You are excluded. So you can feel free to leave a comment, but don't expect a reply from me. I will never sit back and argue with you. If are you a politician, a lawmaker? Can you put this reparation in effect? If not, do not leave a comment because I won't reply. Maybe somebody else will reply to you, but it will not be YK the Truth, because I will not be sitting here arguing with descendants of slave masters, expecting from you to see through the same lens as me. And that's a fool for me to expect you to see my worldview, because those are not your people. And you should be foolish to even think that your opinion even matters. Okay? So it's your brother YK the Truth, and I'm out. Peace.
Do you think white people in this country, and I'm talking about non-segregationists, people devoid or thinking they're devoid of racism, do you have any idea of what they want the Negro to be in America?
Well, it depends on the level that we are talking here, because I think you have to make a distinction between the people who are genuinely and absolutely committed in the white community on the question of racial equality. And I must confess that I think they're in a very small minority. I think the vast majority of white Americans will go but so far. It's a kind of installment plan for equality, and they are always looking for an excuse to go but so far.